Reduce, reuse, wait, what's that next word?
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Right, that's it. Recycle. Clearly, I've learned that since I was a kid. I've seen it in my school buildings, on the streets, and in ads.
Ooh, Tracy, look. She's going for the bin.
Oh my, look at her scoop.
Thank you.
Did you guys hear about John?
No, what happened?
Oh my gosh, so the other day he goes, I want to be a hairbrush. And I'm like, John, you're soap. You're literally a scrub.
Hey.
Looking good, John.
Thank you.
While these ads definitely take some creative liberties, the call to action is clear. Toss your single-use plastics in one of those blue bins you see everywhere, and it'll be transformed into something new. But it turns out that concept is almost as unrealistic as the talking squirrels or toiletries, because over the past 4 decades, the Environmental Protection Agency found that no more than 10% of plastic has been recycled. Now, before you dump your recycling bin into the trash, it's worth noting that other materials like metals and glass can be recycled very successfully. Plastics present some unique challenges, as NPR correspondent and award-winning investigative journalist Laura Sullivan learned when she started digging into the issue. In recent years, Laura pursued a long-buried paper trail to try to understand how plastic recycling went so wrong and whether it ever had a chance of going right.
This stuff has never been valuable. That's what really came out of this, was just recycler after recycler. It was like, we don't have a market for it. Nobody wants to buy it. We can't get rid of it. And most of the recyclers are sort of paying other people to come and take it.
For 40 years, people don't just by coincidence think that something's going to work. I mean, what your reporting found that there was an orchestrated campaign.
The public was becoming very upset in the sort of late 70s and 80s and saying, wow, all this plastic, if you use it once and throw it away, it really makes a lot of trash. And people were getting upset because it was showing up in people's rivers and their lakes, and it was showing up everywhere. And so that's when the industry insiders that we talked to and some of the documents we found showed that this is where this momentum came, that we have to deal with this problem.
Plastics companies are part of the petrochemical industry, which is part of the fossil fuel industry. So those industry insiders Laura's referring to worked for big oil companies like Chevron and ExxonMobil.
They sat around the table and they said, we're going to advertise our way out of this. We're not going to be able to solve the trash problem, but we can advertise our way out of the public perception of the problem. And that's what they did. And if you look at the commercials that began at that time, it was this, the benefits of plastic, it's this amazing thing, and you need to recycle it, which had this very sort of difficult undercurrent because it put all of the blame on the public. If you have a plastic trash problem, it's your fault because we told you that you need to recycle your plastic. And if you don't do it, don't blame us. It's your own fault for not recycling your plastic.
So that's one of those key differences between misinformation and disinformation is intent. When you looked through all the archives, what is the intent that you found?
Document after document that showed that all of these industry experts who worked for these companies knew that they could not get this plastic recycling off the ground. You had these fundamental problems that they were sort of outlining, over and over again. The number one being that it's just cheaper and easier to use new plastic made from virgin oil and gas than it is to use old plastic trash. Old plastic trash is very expensive to collect, sort, and do something with, and then keep it pure. So it's a very tricky problem. This is more than 40 years ago, and this is right where we are right now. How did they know this then, and yet we were told something totally different for decades, and all the way up until me sitting at my desk going, wait, what? This doesn't go at the, what do you mean none of this gets turned into something else? So that for me was like, I remember that moment because it was the first document that I saw that I thought, oh my God, they knew.
Other reporting has shown how the oil industry was aware of its role in driving climate change and followed a similar strategy of promoting myths and disinformation to deny and distract from this fact while pushing a narrative of personal responsibility back on you, the consumer. And it wasn't just ads, as Laura explains. When it came to plastic recycling, for example, these companies invested millions of dollars in splashy public programs that their own research told them were doomed to fail.
They started launching all these feel-good projects nationally, and they would get these huge fanfares, and they would throw a whole bunch of money behind them. And we started looking at, we pulled a dozen of the projects that were launched in 1981. These were things like Dow and Huntsman were going to recycle all the plastic in the nation's national parks. You know, AMCO was going to recycle all the plastic in New York public schools and turn it into something else. There was a new recycling facility with fancy machines, all these big flashy things, and they would get all this press in the local newspapers and on the local news. Brand new thing, or guess what? And the message to the public was, oh good, there's not going to be any plastic left in the national parks. So glad that got solved. And then when we looked 5 years later at what happened to all 12 of those projects, every single one of them had been faltered, failed, shut down. They canceled all of them, and not any news stories. Nothing happened.
Since Laura first published her reporting in 2020, environmental groups have launched a civil lawsuit against Coca-Cola and other plastic bottle manufacturers which claimed their products are 100% recyclable. Cited in the lawsuits are Laura's articles as proof that the companies knew the claims were not true. And in April, California's Attorney General announced an ongoing investigation into the plastics industry for, quote, an aggressive campaign to deceive the public, perpetuating a myth that recycling can solve the plastics crisis. However, the fossil fuel industry continues to promote plastics recycling through initiatives like the industry's Alliance to End Plastic Waste. For Laura, trying to figure out how personal responsibility fits into this broken system is hard, especially after years of being told it's our job to deal with plastic waste and recycling was the way to do it.
Yeah, I get a lot of emails, and I tell them that I completely understand and feel the same way, that I stand over that recycling bin in my house and I just shake my head and I don't know what to do. I mean, the thing is, though, that the one good thing about all of this is the difference between not knowing and knowing. And sometimes that's just enough in the universe to start tilting things the other way. And if for 40 years we all believed that when you threw stuff into these bins that it was something magical was going to happen, and now we understand that that's all it ever was magic and untruths. That the difference is that now when you pick up a piece of plastic, whatever it is, your takeout, your container, your fork, whatever it is you're using, and you look at it and you see the truth, which is that it is trash, and that is all it is going to be, and that it needs to end up somewhere, preferably not in our oceans. That shifts the way you think about the product. It makes you love it a whole lot less. And maybe over time, that's enough to start having people think differently about what they're using and how to maybe try to get around this problem. Plastic is here to stay, but we got this far because we all believed a lie that wasn't true about it. And maybe that's enough to start turning it if we all understand that the truth is different.
In other words, she's trying to reduce and reuse rather than relying on recycling. Until next time, I'm Hari Srinivasan, and this is Take on Fake. Thanks for watching.